Monday night of this week, I was at a work session of council, and one of the hot button issues right now is the rezoning or proposed or asked for rezoning of Fieldcrest, which is down off of Market and 55th
right,
down
right.
in that particular area. Of course, you're councilman at large, and you have a little different perspective than Ward 3 council person, Stephanie Warren, and her opponent, former council person, John Snyder. And so, and then it's, of course, if being a lawyer, you really can't take your lawyer hat off, although you understand that the legal advisor for North Canton City government is Tim Fox. Any concerns about what's going on? In fact, just to reference your point of inquiry with the committee chairman on Monday night was, well, if part of the rezone is that there's going to be a hotel or a motel on there, the owners of the property have to come back and ask us, and then the response was, no, they don't. If so, is that an issue that bothers you?
So I think ultimately one of the first issues we've got to resolve is what's the highest and best use for that property. And there is no doubt in my mind that essentially allowing the landowners who are there to continue broadly what they're doing is a really good thing. And we've actually had a lot of people who've reached out and contacted me who've said, hey, listen, please allow Fieldcrest to stay the way it is. It's a gem and it's a really good thing. I think a lot of people don't realize this, but if we don't do anything at all, the owner could sell it tomorrow, and by the end of Thursday we could have 100, 140 homes zoned there, and that would require no permission, that's the way it's zoned right now. So in order for us to retain the way that it is and to retain it as green space and as a gem and not disrupt the neighbors further by creating another 100 homes in the neighborhood, I think we need to move forward in a way that's thoughtful. So I think that we have. I think that what we're talking about is, again, we're not always going to get the first proposal that comes through isn't always the best and most perfected one. The Planning Commission talked about it 3 times, which I think is, demonstrates some thoughtfulness. We've already talked about it 2 or 3 times. We're going to have a public hearing and then 3 readings. At each of those points, people will be allowed to participate from a public speak standpoint and come and raise issues or concerns that are there. So I have no doubt that we will change provisions of what was originally proposed. We already have. There have been good discussions about that too. We talked about, in just under 2 weeks, we're going to go there as a group, and of course anyone else is welcome to join us and actually walk the property, kind of measure some of the lines and see what's there. This is a deliberative process, but ultimately at the end of the day, you think about Gervasi, just a little further down the road on 55th. What a gem and a beautiful place. That could have been 200 homes, and yet that would have been a waste and something that would have been really, really bad for the community, the neighborhood, everything else. So instead, being flexible and working with it, that's the way we should approach it. I'm sure some of the neighbors were really reluctant to have a winery right there, but at the end of the day, I think most of them at this point would say, hey, that's a pretty nice thing to be able to walk to and home from, more importantly.
Would it be fair to characterize your position as wanting to preserve as much green space as practical?
Yes, I think that makes sense. And I also would agree that I'm willing to allow for some flexibility there. Like, for example, if there's enough green space to have something like a hotel, or no, I don't want to say hotel because that gives the wrong impression, but like a boutique hotel where there were 30 to 50 rooms or something along those lines. I think some of that would be okay, as long as, and I mentioned this on Monday night, they're coming back to the Planning Commission and saying, hey, here's our plan, what we want to do, and they're kind of asking for approval again to do that, which they've indicated a willingness to do. So I think as long as we're saying, hey, we generally want to allow for things, and there's a number of things that need to come back and have people ask for, then I think that's a good way to proceed. And then if a hotel is going to be built there, then the residents would again have an opportunity to provide input, and that's a good thing.
So if it's a conditional rezone, then the city still has some control over the development of that, whatever the zoning is.
And that's what we were talking about Monday, again, not to get in too much in the weeds, but is something like a hotel a permissive use or a conditional use? If it's a conditional use, they have to come back and ask permission. Then they're looking at the site plan, they're looking at what are some of the other parking issues. There's a number of issues that need to be resolved that they would kind of essentially be coming and ask permission for. If we just do permissive use, then it can just go up no matter what. So I think there are a few things that probably we would allow permissive use for that everyone would agree makes sense, particularly existing buildings and things along those lines. But there are a number of other things I think that everyone would feel comfortable doing conditional use, and I would support that as well.